It was yet another stunning development in the Penn State sex abuse scandal. Former football assistant coach Jerry Sandusky was set to face some of his accusers in court Tuesday, but in a move that surprised the packed courtroom, Sandusky's attorney waived the preliminary hearing, a move that will send the case to trial. Sandusky, his lawyer, and the representatives of some of the alleged victims talked to reporters outside the court.
To stay the course, to fight for 4 quarters. We'll wait the opportunity to present our side.
All that would have happened today is that the Commonwealth would have had an opportunity to basically recite the allegations contained in the presentment that has been presented and filed against Jerry Sandusky in this matter, which really would have left us with the worst of all worlds. And we also avoided the prospect of what all you folks would have done tonight. You would have reported the testimony today of the various Commonwealth witnesses. And all you would have heard would have been the Commonwealth's case.
Based on some of the talk being made by defense counsel over the last weeks, their decision, I would say, is surprising based on that. However, based on our readiness, the strength of the case, I'm not that surprised.
I can imagine this is terrific for my client as well as all of the other victims who now do not have to relive the horrors that they experienced up on the witness stand, and they have achieved the same result as they would have had they had to testify.
Regardless of the decision to waive the hearing, nothing has changed. I still will stand my ground, testify, and speak the truth.
No plea negotiations, there will be no plea negotiations. This is a fight to the death. This is the fight of Jerry Sandusky's life.
Sandusky will return to court in January. So for more on this, we are joined on the phone by Ben Simmoneau. He's a reporter for our Philadelphia affiliate KYW. Ben, you were in court Tuesday morning. So what was the reaction when the defense said it was waiving the hearing?
There was a slight gasp, I would say, Betty, from the crowd. You know, we were all there, about 100 journalists or so, and maybe 30 or 40 members of the public, pen and paper in hand, ready to listen to what was entered into the record at this hearing. And then at the very last minute, just as this hearing was scheduled to get underway, they waived it.
Yeah, well, Sandusky's attorney spoke to reporters for about an hour. Why do you think he did that? Because typically they say very tight-lipped.
Yeah, I would say for a couple of reasons. First off, because he had the opportunity to do so. So far, I think a lot of the coverage has been generally what prosecutors have had to say, what the grand jury has found. And here Joe Amendola was in the small town of Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, with about 30 satellite trucks and just about every media outlet you could imagine across the nation that has covered this case. And he had the opportunity to speak to them unfiltered. And that said, also, I think he was using the opportunity to kind of, satisfy all the reporters, get the interviews in now, so that in the coming days, weeks, and months, he can go back to kind of some kind of semblance of a regular work life and work on this case without the distraction of, probably getting a couple of dozen media calls a day, as he has been for the last month.
Well, Ben, can you explain how he went on the offensive against the accusers and Mike McQueary, the Penn State coach, who is also a key witness in this?
Yeah, I mean, Joe Amendola has made it no secret that he's hinting that he believes that the alleged victims in this case, several of which are simply looking for a payday. I mean, he says, he points out that a number of them have hired civil lawyers. There's been at least one civil suit already filed, and he thinks they're going after the deep pockets of both Penn State University and the Second Mile charity, which he says has about $9 million in assets. He also has done his best to call into question the credibility of Mike McQueary, who is a central witness in this case in the grand jury's report. He's pretty much the only person to date who has said that he directly witnessed one of these sexual assaults. He said in 2002 that he saw Jerry Sandusky raping what appeared to be a 10-year-old boy in the showers here at the football building on Penn State's campus. So he's done his best to call into question McQueary's credibility, and there have been a number of various reports as to what exactly Mike McQueary saw on that March night back in 2002.
Well, so how is Sandusky's lawyer portraying him to the public?
Portraying Sandusky to the public? He is saying that he believes he's innocent and that Sandusky has maintained his innocence, that some of the things that he has done, he's admitted to showering with children, as we know, and that we wouldn't do, but he only did that because he viewed them as his children, and he's used the phrase, that's what jocks do. He didn't view it as inappropriate behavior.
Well, we have heard some mixed reaction from some of the accusers' attorneys. Have you talked to any of them and how their clients are feeling right about now?
I talked to a couple of them, and reaction was really mixed. I was kind of surprised across the board. A couple of the attorneys said that they are relieved for their clients, who are glad they will not now have to testify twice. Once would have been today at this preliminary hearing. The second time would have come during the trial. Now they can kind of go back about their normal lives for the next couple of months until the trial comes and then testify just one time. But some other attorneys were very disappointed. Their clients had wanted to have an opportunity to tell their story in this public forum, and they were also angry that this was waived at the very last minute, and they had to go about under the assumption that they were going to have to testify, get all worked up about that. Certainly, I'm sure, would take a lot to have to testify under such large scrutiny as this case is getting.
Big picture, what's the mood in State College, where Penn State and the football team are just a huge part of the community there?
Yeah, the mood is generally just, I would say, depressed. I think people are very upset that this has cast this community in such a tough light. I mean, this really is a town and is a university that prided itself on not having any problems, not getting into trouble with the NCAA, of success with honor, as they say. I mean, there's a line in the alma mater that says, "May no act of ours bring shame," and this turned all of that upside down, and there is a serious concern among a lot of people at this university and in this community that this will be a stain on this institution for years, if not a couple of decades to come.
All right, so now since this hearing has been waived, it goes to trial. What's next for Sandusky? What's the timeline here?
Well, there was an arraignment scheduled. It moves on to the Court of Common Pleas. There was an arraignment scheduled for the second week of January, but Joe Amendola said today they're going to waive that. That's a very simple process of, do you want to enter a plea? How do you plea, guilty or not guilty? And here are the charges against you. They're going to waive that. And the trial will likely be, I would think, at the very least 6 months down the road. And it could be summertime. It could be into the fall before this case comes together. And keep in mind, Betty, the grand jury is still investigating, so we don't know if there's going to be additional charges, perhaps even additional suspects named in this case. So a lot's still developing here, but I think it will probably quiet down for a couple of months before it picks back up again.
All right. KYW's Ben Simmoneau in State College. Ben, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.